not getting the result, right? So no, Nimisha's eyeballs got big. What's happening?
because that resonates, right? Why grind if you're not seeing the work? And, I think from just talking to you yesterday, well, we have to keep grinding because we will see the result. We just have to tweak some things and remember that every step is a win. So, one of my frustrations yesterday was I was been working on an ad for real estate and I'm just trying to get, awareness out there, but also connect with buyers and sellers in my neighborhood. And it felt like when I started the call, I felt like I failed, right? Because I'm like, oh, look, I got all these views. There was, um, 800 or 900 people that already saw it, but then nobody entered their information. There was like, there were some engagement. So I still need to learn the analytics as well with the Facebook because I see that, it shows you the views, it shows you the interactions, but of those 30 interactions, there were zero like follow through. They didn't click through. So I'm thinking, okay, what did I do wrong? And I just need to remember like it's still a learning process for me and I did it right. Like I took the first step. So that's a win and celebrate that win and know that I might not have got the result that I wanted yesterday, but I can come here, talk to you, call you and be like, this sucks. And then let all that stuff go and try again. And maybe it'll get better the second time or the third time. But I know with the right formula, it will work. So I just have to give myself some patience. I think that was my biggest lesson from yesterday was it's okay. I tried it by myself and there are systems in place and I need to follow those systems. So I need to come back and reset and try it again. So I think that's the biggest takeaway for me from yesterday.
Well, how dare you want to actually control your life and your emotions? You're supposed to be frustrated like the rest of us and waste $600 billion per year in ad spend. Isn't that what you're supposed to be doing right now?
Hmm.
I don't know.
Jalen, what you thinking, brother?
Man, I'm in the same exact. I mean, I think we all can resonate with that, right? We all are trying to be able to focus and grow in the ways that we need to in order to be able to get where we want to get. Um, for me, it's just developing my mindset and developing my ability, especially in sales, because I'm doing insurance sales right now. So developing, the skills, being able to handle certain objections, being able to just be communicative and relaxed in a conversation. Those are the small wins that you look for. Just like Neiman just said, just like Nathan said, just like you said, you look for the small wins because the small wins, they add up to big gains over time.
100%. Definitely appreciate that. And I like how this is resonating. We also have Saul who just joined us. Want to say what's going on, Saul? How you doing, brother?
Hey, good morning, Fred. How's it going? How's it going all? Thanks for having me.
Amazing, amazing. And we also he's having some breakthroughs. He's actually in the audience roadmap program. And I wanted to go over a little bit more about like why this whole process is here and why New Room and all the stuff so we can be super clear on it. And then Nathan, we got a few minutes before we also have Bruce joining us. So this whole room was created just for this reason about 4 years ago. We really want to come together just for a limited period of time and just do some hard resets in our mindset and our way of thinking because even when I was in the Persian Gulf and I was stuck by myself out in the desert for nearly 30 days on record. I mean, that's totally insane for how I did that. Jalen's eyeballs not big, but that's a true story. It's on record. It happened. I had some top secret people who were like, "Yo, man, we didn't even think you were going to make it." So even some of my friends now who are in advertising and marketing, that's the insane level that I played doing this. They're in they had top secret clearances. I have one young lady named Brandy. She's in the group. We're actually going to be working on some AI stuff. So I want to talk to you about that. So the whole purpose of this group is for us to really to come together as a collective. We'll spend as much time as needed with these things. Typically, Gloria's helping me out. She's going to be the facilitator moving forward on a lot of these things. And typically on Tuesdays, we're going to do our best to have a guest to come in. And if you guys have somebody you specifically want me to interview, please let me know because that's my zone of genius. That's what I've been able to do as a campaign strategist. I had to label it something because you just can't say, "Hey, I did propaganda for a living. What do you do?" It doesn't really go well in the regular civilian world. So, I'm here to just let you know that it's totally possible to do a lot of stuff. Nathan is actually exhibit A of that. We were able to actually create the client success backend for Audience Lab to stabilize that group, to make it go to multiple six figures. So he's actually seen a lot of these high level conversations as well. Gloria has been with Rockin' with us for a few years. She also has an agency, and we're working together to do some stuff to really change the planet here. So my point is, you're in the right room. Please be real. Please be transparent. Please be vulnerable. I cry. Like it just happens, man, because again, a real man can cry. I don't care what nobody says. That I think there's a lot of strength in being true, transparent, and just very vulnerable. And at one point in time, my dog tags said no preference when I was in combat zone. There's no atheists in combat. You can take it for what it's worth. You can believe in whatever you want. But all I know is that I'm out, and that's my job and my responsibility and my duty is to moving forward work with everybody from Gen Z, Gen A, baby boomers, my generation, which is Psycho, Gen X, and also millennials. So this is the first time we really have 6 generations on the planet that actually still need to understand advertising and technology. That's what the biggest problem is that I'm seeing in the marketplace is literacy. If I had to boil it down to one word, literacy. So if you can't boil your offer down to one word, that's my challenge for you today. That's my Fred Talk. Jalen, thank you. Shout out for believing in my Fred Talks. I had to do one just for you. Anybody want to add to that before we move on?
No, the last part, I mean, ooh, that was good. Because yeah, this is the first time that we've ever had like 6 generations that like need to master this thing. And it's actually almost crucial and critical that we do so. Just we've always had these conversations, learning how to communicate better and learning how to uh, kind of pierce through a lot of the noise that's in the marketplace these days. With more bad communication, there's more of a need for good communication. And to your point about wins earlier, uh, one of my biggest wins, believe it or not, was just getting Zoom to work. Like, I mean, you remember last week, it was just down and it was crazy. Um, another thing that happened recently, Gloria knows, is that the platform on like the audience lab side went through some updates and stuff like that. So I'm going through the roller coaster, but uh, the wins are still there. I think you just kind of have to learn how to, kind of keep your losses tight. I got a chance last night to kind of get my hands on some pretty cool software, and so we might actually be able to roll that out with the group with some of the stuff that me and Jalen are gonna be working on. And so I mean, it's still progressing. It's just something that kind of resonated with me recently. It's just kind of keeping those losses tight and making sure that you're not doing things to kind of prolong some stuff, because if you don't, then you can't do anything to win.
Yep, 100%. Couldn't agree with you more. And that's the game that we play. And also, when you're in these specific conversations, I'm going to give you guys some high level IP since I really want this stuff to get out there, go forth and multiply. You can take this, beat this up, put it in your systems, put it in your businesses because this stuff works. It's been super battle tested. So now I'm going to give away one of the templates that I use the back end to help build audience roadmap. Back to you, Nathan. He doesn't have it. Anyway, let me give it to you real quick. I'm just giving you a hard time. Anybody have any questions or thoughts before I really roll out this beast?
I mean, you guys been saying it like it just comes down to building trust in yourself to be able to do what you say you want to do.
Yeah.
And it comes from doing those small wins. It comes from saying, okay, I'm gonna do this thing, even if it's just getting Zoom to work. I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out. And then the more you figure it out, the more trust you build in yourself, and then eventually you just build so much trust in yourself to where you literally do what you say you want to do.
Yep, definitely, 100%. And I want to go over something real quick because I think we've got about a couple more minutes. And Nathan, this is to what you were talking about, like how you wanted to create a newsletter, do some other things. Can everybody see this little bow tie?
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. This is the secret sauce, one of many. So in my high level program, speed scaling, and that's about $100,000 program. I've been getting like 10 to 12K a month on that one. So just so you know, that's what I was working with on Audience Lab to help put in a lot of this technology. I went over this with Adam. I went over this with Jesse. And whenever you're doing this, you have to look at this like a bow tie. You've got on the left side business development, on the right side is your brand's customers and clients, because they're two totally separate things. And this is just one piece out of the major things that you have to think of as an entrepreneur. So if you want to squirrel out, screenshot this, put this on your desktop, squirrel out in these little areas. If you want to have scattered energy, that's cool. Scatter it in these like 16 questions because this is the game from a very high level. And if you're really able to understand this part of the game, then no matter what you're doing in life, whether it's personal or professional, you're going to win because this thing has been engineered to put people first. That's the reasons why you have to be a certain person in order to be in this room. That's why you have to be built a certain way to really want to help people because you can't do this on your own. Even an audience roadmap, I'm just like, guys, you gotta go find somebody because you're going to need help. You cannot do this game by yourself. So on the left side is the business development mindset. On the right side is your brand's customers and clients. And these really are the questions that you have to facilitate, because the outcome that you want to have, and Nathan, you've heard me say this before, is you want to undercut your genius with clarity and simplicity. And the best way that you can do that is when you're doing any type of planning, is to really take this into consideration, because what's going to happen is you're going to have people who want to sway you left and right with their IP. And while that's cool because we want to grow and we want to have mutually beneficial partnerships, the reality of it is you want money, you want to grow your business, you want to grow your brand. It's cool to have partners, but we also have to have end users. So this helps you delineate the difference between what you should say, when you should say it, where you should say it, why you should say it. But this is also part of the secret sauce that I use for campaign planning. Any questions on this? Has anybody ever seen this before, or am I speaking like a foreign language?
No, it's
I
funny.
think
Go ahead, Jay.
the only foreign language I see on here is a USP. I don't know if I'm the only person who doesn't know what USP is, but could you explain that?
Sure. What you want to be, and that's a good question. What you want to be able to do is to go into a super crowded market and dominate. So, as an example, you're in the insurance industry. I was in the insurance industry for 20 years. So it's a crowded market. What makes you really stand out in that market at the top of your hill? Like, we're all goats in this room. We're the greatest of all time on our mountain, on that mountain range. You know what I'm saying? So be a goat, be that Billy goat on your, be the greatest of all time on your mountain, right? And really this is part of that secret sauce. So what really makes you different in the marketplace? That's what a USP is.
All right.
Was that helpful?
That was extremely simple. The
Are
genius.
you You stick around, you're
Great.
gonna mess around and get simplified, man. I had simplify and also simplify. So this is one of the things where I'm telling you, this is part of the secret sauce. So I really want to thank you guys for just really checking out this customer and client development process, because this goes into the freedom ladder and the timescale ladder. More specifically, we all are doing this to get some type of passive income or to help our money make money. And that's what we talk about in Audience Roadmap. So I wanted to tie that in because we have a very special guest and a good soon to be very amazing, helpful friend. Hey, Bruce, you put your stuff back on, man. How's it going today? This is all about you. We were all waiting for you to show up. How you doing today, brother?
What's going on? How you doing there, Fred?
Amazing. Yeah, just wanted to say, this is what we typically do on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We do a little actual business training because we want to help entrepreneurs get their businesses together so that they can have enough money to get passive income strategies and also to help their money make money. So enter in.
Bruce is an expert at.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Once you kick it off in the mission, please, that's okay. Give them a good introduction and then we'll kick it off. And guys, you can still hang back, ask some questions because we're going to go through a Q&A as well. And if you want to stay back for a little bit more of the business scaling stuff that I teach on, not a problem. But the whole purpose of this group is for us to really get real game from vetted experts. And Bruce is one of them. This conversation has been over a year in the making. So here we are. So Namisha, take it away.
It definitely has been. So thank you so much, Bruce, for joining us today. I met Bruce a long, long time ago. He thinks I was still in diapers, but I wasn't. And and I've been like, we need to connect. I need you to meet my team. I need you to meet Fred. I need you to be here with us. So Bruce is like a master day trader, also a real estate investor, and he has so many other tools in his bucket. But today we're going to be talking about investing. And Bruce, please take the floor.
So I'm kind of caught off guard because I expected just Fred and Misha on the call, and I popped on. I thought maybe I'm on the wrong call. We have 10 other people in that call.
No, there's more people on this call. So,
yeah,
we do things on the fly, Bruce.
I know.
Well, that's the thing I was telling you, Bruce. Like the thing about what we do over here at New Room is that we have like a live audience, and we like to make markets. That's what I specialize in the automotive industry for 20 years, is making markets. And part of really making the market is actually having real-time feedback. So in exchange for us really having conversations, we'll see if it lands. If it has, like as an example, Nathan has done really well. I helped him build out a multiple six-figure per month MRR, multiple monthly recurring revenue model online in the advertising technology space. He's only 20 years old, so he's getting money really fast. He might want to learn how to get some passive income and learn how to trade and make some money on top of that money that he's making.
Sure.
Yeah.
So a little bit about me. I'm a again, this was like completely off guard, so I'll have to get even with you next time, Namisha and Fred.
Oh God.
Um, so by by trade, I'm a professional trader. I've run my own hedge fund. I've traded at a prop firm for I don't know 5 years down in your neck of the woods, Fred, in Orange County. I was trading the futures. I was ranked #1 out of about 700 traders. It was the largest prop firm in Canada, and that kind of caused me to start my own hedge fund. Since then, I manage my own money, my own family trust. I also do real estate, as Namisha has talked about. In fact, that's what kind of spurred this conversation. Is Namisha's been trying to get me to enhance my. I have a group called the Traders Roundtable, but I don't market for it. People that I had spoken for years on some of the largest stages around the world. I had my own TV show for about 2 years on the largest Chinese network, and I speak Chinese fluently, so it was kind of unique to have an American speaking Chinese and talking about the stock market and real estate investing. So I kind of garnered a lot of followers in the Asian community, and then just from speaking on the Peter Lowe stages, and some of you might know Phil Town. Phil Town and I go way back. He's written several different books on managing money and making your money grow and investing and whatnot. And so recently, my whole thought process is I have 3 kids, a 13-year-old daughter, a 7-year-old daughter, and a 5-year-old son. And I thought to myself, are they going to be able to have the same skill set as what I have in terms of trading the markets? Because trading the markets is not passive income. There's strategies you can do to bring in income on what I call a non-directional trade, but it's not passive income. I day trade primarily the SPX, and I also do some swing trades. But I got into real estate because of my 3 kids. I really wanted to create something that was really like a no-brainer for them, where they didn't even really have to manage the properties. I have apartment complexes. I do fix and flips. I recently bought an apartment complex out here in Belmont, California, and so I know how to hunt for the deals and recognize a good deal. And as Namisha knows, I'm not one to do a lot of prep work when it comes to just doing things in life. Some people will like to read a book from A to Z or study material. That's not me. I'll go ahead, I'll take a look, I'll absorb it, and if I think I have a grasp on it, I dive right in. And that's kind of how I got into real estate, how I got into commercial real estate. So I picked up this building, going back to the building in Belmont, and I told Namisha and Fred, I think it would kind of be neat to convert one of the units that's dedicated to trade-in, where people could come in and they could trade alongside me. It wouldn't disrupt my day, so I wouldn't have to, travel like I used to do. I'm about 20 minutes. The building's about 20 minutes south of SFO, so I thought it would kind of be create a cool environment where the Traders Roundtable could actually be live. People could come out for like 3 days and during the week and trade live in the markets and learn how to go ahead and develop this crazy skill set called trading the markets. So that's how the conversation started. And then Fred says, "Hey, let's get on a call tomorrow and do a follow-up at 9 o'clock." And I said, "Cool. Yeah, me and Namisha will be on the call." I click in and I see all y'all on here, which is a pleasant surprise. But I was not prepared to go ahead and talk or anything else. But that's a little bit about me. I'm a down-to-earth guy. I believe that with the right education, I teach my kids the same thing. With the right education, you can build wealth over time. There's some vehicles that can do it quicker than others, but I think the two largest vehicles would be real estate and also trading the markets. I have a huge passion for trading the markets, and it has served me and my family very well for many years.
Awesome. And definitely thank you. Apologize. Wasn't trying to ambush. and I know definitely the other thing that we have in common as well is I had told him, because I was doing trading as well, not at his level, but one of he actually knows he's a Hall of Fame trader, Courtney Smith. He trained me back in 2014, and that's what I was telling him yesterday. Like, I was actually able to take those skills and work my businessscaling.com business because I still own that IP. And so what you walked into, Bruce, was a speed scaling, because that's like the greatest hits of what I learned as a trader, and I put them in business. That's what I did. I'm very much
Yeah.
like, and Nathan nodded his head because he's seen it in action as well. That's how we were able to scale out this company into multiple six-figure MRRs, just by taking a lot of those strategies that you're talking about. So that's where the tie-in and the relevancy comes in with this specific group, is because when I came offline, I instantly started this group. So I don't know anything else but to get like real world, real time feedback. And you know how important that is in the markets, to be able to just get the commitment of traders done, or getting some other data that you would need to really see how you can make a market so that when you hit, you're spot on. And it's kind of tough, especially, I don't know about how it is these days. That's the other reason why we wanted to talk. But I know when I was first learning retail trading, it practically didn't even exist. But I was learning all these institutional level style trading points. And before we go any further, I did want to get some feedback from the group and check in. Is what he's saying, are you interested in it? Does it have relevancy? And if so, how? Because that was one of the reasons why I did let him know that we would go over certain questions and formats, because I want to make sure that we're not, I don't want to make this a warm bath. You know what I'm saying? I'm all about results. I'm very results driven, but also know I can't do it by myself. And the market will tell you if you ask.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's actually pretty funny. As of 2 weeks ago, I've like slowly been starting to dip my toe into trading. Like, so I mean, the timing of this is actually really, really, really interesting. Um, and so yeah, like the thing I mentioned earlier about kind of keeping your losses tight, that came from some material that I was going through on, you know, exactly how to trade and how to set things up the right way. So it's pretty interesting that we're just now kind of starting off this way, which is cool. And so in terms of kind of starting out, Bruce, if you don't mind me asking, what would you advise in terms of, you know, going out and trying to get information? Is that something that you can do it yourself, or is that something that you need more of a hands-on mentorship approach for?
Yeah, I think it's like, it's like anything else in life. I think you do have to, proximity is key. So I think a couple of really key things in life in general, because as Fred knows and Misha knows, I have several different businesses. I'm all about multiple streams of income, and I'm all about never owning, always controlling.
Yeah,
So, when it comes down to, I think back about life in general, about the different businesses that I run, trade in, it's about execution is huge. If you can't execute, it's hard to see. That's just the fact. You have to be able to execute. And I think it's also about proximity to those that are where you want to be. You can read books and whatnot, and I'm big on reading, but I think it's also, I mean, I just started really getting into um, keeping more of my money. I've gotten all these books on tax advantages of the wealthy and this, that, and the other. But I also hire, like for my trading, uh, I hired Robert Green and his team out of New York, and all they do is specialize in professional traders and hedge fund managers. That's all. So they know the law in terms of what how do you take advantage of the maximize your keeping your capital gains and whatnot. So I believe in proximity to experts. I don't believe in like generalists. It's like when I go to the doctor, I go to a sports doctor because I'm heavy into sports and martial arts, and I go Bob Nishimi. He's the head doctor for the San Francisco 49ers. Very, very good at what he does. So I like to surround myself by people that know what they're doing in the field that I'm interested in getting involved in. And so my advice would be, yes, you want to read, you want to study, you want to garner as much information as you can, but you want to be around a professional that can also teach you and guide you as well. Because going back to trading is a lot about human psychology. A lot of people think that you have to be good at finance, and they'll always tell me you must be good at numbers, and I'm pretty good at numbers, but I'm much better at human psychology, and that's what the markets are. If you ever got into a stock and you're thinking, wow, they came out with earnings and the earnings just were killer, but the stock dropped. Why? That's all human psychology. It's all about expectations. And then the
yeah,
other flip side to trading and life in general is being able to manage your risk. And it's easier said than done for a lot of traders. And I think if someone was just starting out in trading, that'd be one of the things I'd say focus on is risk management as well. And that will apply to every aspect in your life.
yeah,
First
yeah.
thing, spot out what I learned was risk management. We spent like 2 days just learning risk management. That's how key what he just said is, Nate. I'm sorry, my meter popped out. So and
No, that's
we
good.
got we got Gloria, Jalen. We also have Nina. So if y'all want to ask questions, please do because I want Bruce to also, and I really appreciate you asking a question, Nathan, because that's the whole reason why we're here as well. Because he started this roundtable for a reason because he's actually taken a very humanitarian approach to this. So I wanted him to go a little bit deeper into that because, and he's also about women empowerment as well. That's a big thing, and I want to cover that as well. Got Namisha smiling on that. I told
I'm
you.
gonna say thank you, Bruce, for just jumping right in. I feel like I hope you don't feel like I just threw you on the deep end, but I
did.
feel like you're able to manage yourself in this room, so you can get
Yeah.
me back later.
Yeah, Namisha is fun. I met Namisha. I can't even remember how long ago. It was years ago. I've been speaking, going out, and I used to speak, like I said, for some of the largest platforms out there. Peter Lowe was one of the big ones. TD Ameritrade, before it became TD Ameritrade, was run by a company called Invest Tools, and I helped them develop a lot of their curriculum. So I used to go out and I used to speak to thousands of people at a time, and that was really cool. People would say, "Why do you do that?" And I said, "Well, I enjoy it and they pay a lot." So again, always monetizing what you can do without having to reinvent the wheel or create another put your energy somewhere else. So I'm big on really being able to make an impact, and if you can monetize that impact, why not? Why not? So Fred talked about empowerment of women. The other thing that's been on my mind, and Namisha knows this for years, is empowerment and education for financial literacy for kids. And I thought about starting an academy years ago for maybe high schoolers. I've been teaching my kids, even my 5-year-old, he knows about the markets. So he'll come into my office and say, "Oh, Daddy, that stock is going to go up, or that stock is going to go down." So he's already getting the idea of market direction and taking a look at charts and whatnot. And then that goes back to your environment. What environment are you in and whatnot. And a lot of kids, they're just not exposed to that. Even kids that come from semi well off families, they still think saving for a rainy day is the way to go. And I'm not a big fan of that. I'm always a big fan of invest in your dollars into something that's going to grow and do you well down the road. So that's on my mind, as well as being able to create an academy for kids for financial literacy, maybe high school kids, that along those lines there.
Well, let's calibrate that, and that's the reason why I'm glad you're here, Nathan, as well, because Nathan's 20, so we can get a good gauge as to whether or not he was looking or when did he start looking, because he's one of many. But that's the other reasons why we have this room, because again, before you came, what I mentioned to the group was this is the first time on the planet where we literally have 6 generations and they all have some form of real technology, like since I learned it back in 1996. So this is a very unique time to actually have 6 generations here, literally in front of you, to just be like, hey, does this resonate with you? Because I was always trained from the very super technical side. Like I was talking about yesterday, I was trained in India like for 6 months, and they're like, hey, just talk to Gen Z, and Gen A is right around the corner. I'm like, well, what about these other generations though? You follow me? It's like we have to really get the messaging tight, because from an advertising perspective, we'd have to have 6 different campaigns, and then we'd have to have all of these different subsets as far as the questions and conversations. So this is a good thought starter, and I'm curious as to know what Nathan, because he's 20. Jalen, I think you're around the same age just by looking at you, man. If you're 45, you look damn good for 45. Right? And I'm just curious, Nathan, is this landing? Were you looking for something like this around that age, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, actually, it does land like quite a bit. Obviously, as you mentioned, Fred recently had a bit of success with Audience Lab, and something I've been saying recently is just kind of evaluating life and evaluating, things like money and time. One of the things I've been saying recently is that we basically have about two currencies on the planet. We've got money and we've got time, right? You can spend other people's money. You can also spend other people's time, hiring out employees and building out IP and teams like that. And so, knowing where I am now, no wife, no kids, don't really have like a lot of responsibility, not other than, other family that like I have to kind of come home to and make sure that I stay on top of. And so knowing that I have the highest energy levels that I probably will at my life right now, it's like, I kind of want to put my nose to the grindstone a little bit and work on a little bit more active income, right? Got my main gig with Audience Lab and Audience Roadmap as well. but diversifying out and kind of learning a new skill, that's something that kind of really came across my radar. And I think for whatever reason, trading kind of came to my mind first. I've always kind of had a passion as well for real estate. It's kind of how I got into the entrepreneurship game. I think I told you that, Fred, on our last live. So like I mentioned, timing is just kind of a funny thing. But yeah, this is definitely something that I know I'd be interested in, and I would assume that there's a larger representation of me for, my generation.
Cool. So, and definitely before you say something, Bruce, I wanted to ask you, based on your range, and I appreciate that feedback, exactly what age did you start thinking of it, and more specifically now, based on your drive, because I know you're super unique and rare in the marketplace. We've had that conversation. Who do you think in your age range this would be for, and who would you think it would not be for? Because, and like I was telling Bruce yesterday, this isn't for somebody who's like a yo bro Lambo type person and they just want to get a quick hit. He's a day trader. I day traded. That's why I'm bald. And he still has his hair, and he still has his bank account. So I just couldn't do it, and he's the master at it. So what do you think? Who's this for, and who this is not for? Because that's really going to. We're looking for the temperament, because that's what's really going to help us determine how to structure this table appropriately. This round table. Take it away, Nathan.
Oh, sorry, the temperament.
Yeah, yeah. Who do you think this is for, and who do you think this is not for at your age?
Okay. I'd say that this is probably for, individuals who understand a little bit of, they kind of have that level of risk management already, at least kind of mentally. And I'm kind of speaking for myself, right? So, like I mentioned, I'm young and I didn't want to do the things that I saw a lot of my other friends doing, playing high school football and different things like that. Seeing the lengths that they kind of went through. Um, One of the things that I've been saying recently as well is, I'm living my life like I'm already 40. It's just going out there and trying to make the smart decisions that, to me, it takes people 20 years to get to, right? It's not like, you have to get into an older person's brain, but, you just want to make the smarter decisions sooner. And so I've been taking that mentality since I was back in high school. And so there's a certain level of risk management that I think I kind of had in place already. Maybe that's kind of what led me into investing, entrepreneurship, even trading, different things like that. And so in terms of temperament, I'd say maybe that. But again, I'm just a novice, so I'm literally just starting out.
I want to say something. Nathan, I want to be 20 again and have the information. I
So
mean, it is just an honor to hear you speak the way you speak and to hear the knowledge you already have at 20 freaking years old. So kudos to you. And for Bruce, for really sharing so passionately all that you do and all that you want to do for us. You're not holding that reservoir of knowledge. You're really ready to share it with us. And I want to share a little bit about what I do. My passion is really about helping women with this. We go to school and we hear about, we do the right thing. Go to school, get the degrees, and get the American dream is to buy the house and buy the car. But guess what? For me, financial literacy is not only about knowing the products or the tools to get you to keep paying and growing your money. It's the part we all forget, which is what's here. And why do I sabotage myself? And yet I work so hard. How do we get between or get to uncover and discover what's between our ears? So for me, that is the foundation of financial literacy. So I really love what you're talking about and how you talk about, your 5-year-old. What an environment to grow up in. Man, I want to be 5 years old again too. So, here's an amazing environment to really play in.
yeah.
And Financial Empowerment Institute is just one avenue for me with, helping people really find what I would say, financial well-being through insurance-based products and also through really uncovering who they are. So thank you for allowing me to and audience roadmap. The way to market the way to market ourselves to get the message out there. So thank you, Bruce. What an honor to be in your presence.
Thank you, Gloria.
I think what's interesting too is that the similarities between like all of the topics that we've discussed is mindset is really a very important piece of it. That's one of the things that I remember from Bruce when I met him a long time ago. He was so kind to me, but also encouraging me to just envision the life that I want to live and, you know, write it down and journal and keep a positive mindset and keep around positive people and keep around, like you said, you want to be close to the people who are living the life that you want to live. So I always kept him in my database. I kept him as close as I felt I could keep him, right? Because I'm like, okay, well, one day I'll have that opportunity that I can work with him closely. And even with Fred, when I met you, I was a little bit further along in my journey of building my own self-esteem up and believing that I can do these things. And so over the last year and a half, we've come a long way. I mean, I went from, you know, being afraid to walk away from my 40-hour-a-week job to transitioning into playing in the space of entrepreneurship and becoming a realtor and becoming an independent insurance agent and really, you know, taking those steps that I needed to fulfill the dreams that I wanted to have manifest. And, you know, investing in the markets is still there. That's something that I've wanted to do for the longest time, but I'm still just a passive investor, right? So I have my 401k and I have things that I've invested in, but I never took that leap of let me day trade because there was still some fear around that. So if you were to look at like my profile or people like myself, I know that there's a lot of women who are afraid of the stock market, who think that it's, you know, not something that they can play in, that it's a market maybe just for men, or that it's intimidating because the language it takes time to understand the language, but you're able to break it down in a way that makes sense. You know, I remember just your one statement was, you know, you can trade whether it's going up, down, or sideways. It doesn't matter. You can find a way to make money. And that one statement stuck with me. And that statement in itself resonates across marketplaces too, right? Like real estate is the same thing. Marketing is the same thing. You just need to find, you know, what works. And the first thing is getting your mind right. So I just wanted to share that, that I do see these similarities and I do see the connections and I do see ways that, you know, as we continue to grow, we'll find what's going to work for us.
Yeah, you know, I appreciate you saying that, Namisha. And I was also digesting what Gloria and also what Nathan was saying. I was tying that all together, and it ties in well with what you just said, Namisha. You know, life is really short, and I always believe you have to figure out what you want to do in life. And not everybody has a passion for trading. Not everyone's going to have a passion for real estate, but I would say have a passion for what those two things can do for you, and it gives you back time. You know, so a lot of you know, I'm a very, very hands-on dad. And a lot of times my sons or my daughter's teachers, they'll ask me, they'll say, man, it must be tough to be a single father. And I say, yes, it is tough to be a single father. But I'm not a single father, right? My wife she works in another business, you know, but I've just made that decision years ago that when I had kids, I was going to be hands-on. And I feel grateful and blessed that I have a skill set in different areas that allows me to not just make money, but to kind of what you were saying, Nathan, to give me back time. And, you know, I kept hearing Gloria say, I'd love to be 20 again, or I'd love to be 5 again. And, you know, I just recently, unfortunately, lost my dad. My dad passed away on 9/11 of last year. So what is it, about 4 months ago? And my mom he was 1 month shy of his 89th birthday. My mom was 5 years older than him. She's still alive. I took her in, and she was staying with us for up until the last couple of days. And she's a very independent woman, wanted to go back home and tidy up her place and whatnot. So she's going back and forth now. But I just think about that. I think about my mom being 95 and still going strong. And I think about my dad, at 80, almost 89. And I think, man, I'm just a baby. So I better not piss this opportunity away. Because a lot of times we get in the mindset of thinking when we reach a certain age, oh, I'm old. I'm ready for retirement. I don't even think about retirement, honestly. I just think about, I always feel like I'm running out of time to make the impact that I want to make. And that's kind of been my driving force. Yeah, it's just I think you have to take life, and you have to take a kind of like listening to what Gloria and Nathan were saying about Nathan kind of projecting himself forward into the mindset of a 40-year-old, and Gloria thinking, gosh, I wish I could recapture that time. And they always say on Gloria, the time is wasted on the youth. They always say that. And there's, I never really understood that until I got older, because you don't realize things until, for a lot of people, until you do get older and you look back and you think, damn, I should have been doing something else. And that's what I always tell people when they're talking about fear of learning how to trade the markets, or fear about learning how to do real estate. If that's what you want to do, do it. Find someone who is doing that you can learn from, is willing to share their knowledge, and do it. Dive in with both feet, because one thing you don't have is a lot of time. You don't know when your time is up. That's a fact.
Yeah,
That
and I
is
think
definitely true.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of that, guys, it's 9:30 a.m. PST. I know we typically keep it around 45 minutes. If you want to hang back, that's cool. But I also want to get some feedback before we shift. If anybody else had any other thoughts, questions, or statements. So I would love to hear from you, Nina, if you're around, and definitely Regina, and Jalen, definitely. Any thoughts or comments on what we just said? Because this is some powerful stuff, and I wish I would have learned this when I was in the hood. I mean, I was always awake. Like, I always knew that there was something just not right. Like, and and I think I told y'all a few weeks back that I was at the kitchen table crying. I'm like 8 years old. And it's just like, hey, what's going on? It's like, I won't live to be 100. I'm sitting there crying, so it's one of those things where I understand the value of time as well, and I almost lost my life several times out there in the Persian Gulf, being stuck out in the desert by myself for over 30 days on record. So it's one of those things that I understand the value of truly of time and how precious it is. So I want to get some feedback from y'all before I want to ask Bruce some more specific questions about the roundtable and what he envisions.
And gentlemen, I would love to stay, and I have a meeting right now. So thank you again, and see you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye, Gloria.
Gloria.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll go because I do have some feedback for Bruce, and just engage the conversation on on a lot of those levels, Fred, that you talked about with the 6 generations that we have. I work. I sit on the board for a nonprofit whose mission is to inspire youth and young adults to live healthy, wealthy, and wise. And a lot of that, we host workshops, and we host book clubs. Right now, we're reading Atomic Habits, and we attract a lot of our audience. There's really a lot of 18 to 25 years old youth, and a lot of these kids. And Fred, I'm part of that crazy Generation X that you talk about. It's not that we were crazy; our parents were, and not only that, but we have the advantage of living in a time where technology wasn't as booming as it is today, in addition to living in a time where technology has just gone through the roof. So I feel like we have a lot of advantages that our parents didn't have, and then our kids don't have in terms of experience. But getting back on track, I was also one of those kids, time wasting on the youth, just because I wasn't aware of things until I was 28 when my son was born. And but I mean, I did join the military after high school, but that's because I thought I was out of options when I didn't get accepted to school. And unlike the kids today, like Nathan, you had asked, you like to think there's more people your age group that think the way you do, and I would say absolutely there are, because I feel like your generation are able to look like your parents are probably Generation Xers as well, and a lot of, like, in my experience, we're coming from hippie times, crack epidemic, all kinds of crazy stuff happening in our world, where and our parents always working maybe 1 or 2 jobs, especially if we was raised in poor neighborhoods. So I knew I didn't want to be like my parents, but I didn't know, and we didn't have the technology at the time with the internet and all that stuff to know financial literacy, trainings were happening or how to trade or go into real estate. I didn't know that until I was 28. And Bruce, I am somebody that I invest in real estate. I'm a real estate broker in Texas, and I also know I belong to groups that they teach how to trade, trade options. And a lot of those groups I belong to, like especially in the real estate, we see a lot of kids wholesaling. Like these kids are like, I know one kid, he's like 16 years old in high school wholesaling and making money in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the group that I belong to that teaches trading. Like these guys are like 20, 30 years old and they're trading, options and these guys make them and they're successful and they're teaching, the mindset because all this stuff is coming too. So when you say that you think you want to start a a platform where you can um, provide the education to youth for trading and real estate, I would say it's absolutely the best time to do that because the kids nowadays coming out of high school are looking for this. Lastly, I have a 16-year-old. Um, uh, he's not into all of this yet, but he knows I do real estate, and I tell him all the time. I said, son, you can, do what you want to do. He plays bass and he's really into it, and he thinks that's what he wants to do right now, professionally as a musician. And I tell him, I was like, well, you can do that, but just know, at some point in your life, you're gonna need to make money. So, and I always try to tell him, when you're ready to hear it, because I don't want to force this stuff on him. When you're ready to hear it and you're ready to think about ways to make money, I consider real estate or consider learning how to trade. And I don't know if he understands that yet because I feel like those, like real estate and trading are ways for these kids to do what they want to do. Like they want to be, play video games all day, do music, art. There are a lot of artistic kids, not autistic, but artistic kids, more so in my experience than today. And they don't want to be spending the time like my son, like for me, when I was coming up in real estate, like it was literally 24/7. I was, but I made time for my son all the time. But it took a lot for me to build up to a certain point in my life to where I wasn't, I can do real estate in my sleep. Um, and I think kids look up to their parents today and they get turned off by wanting to work or, even own a business nowadays because their parents weren't around. And if we can show them like it's really not like that, it's like, take the time to learn, develop yourself, the skill, the mindset, and you can literally spend probably no more than 4 hours a day, making money, and then you can have the rest of the next 20 hours doing what you want to do in life. So that's just my feedback, just from my experience.
That's definitely pretty real. And I know, I mean, Nathan and me have been talking about for a while about getting people together that are like around our age to be able to just talk about the same thing you're doing in your group, giving wealth, giving wisdom, developing people's mindsets into growing into the people who they know they need to be. Um, but I think the common element, and I think Namisha spoke on this a little bit, but the common element is just who you are as a person and the mindset that you carry around because people will see and you will show who you are by the things that you do and the way that you speak and the way that you move around in the world will show the kind of person you are. So really, I mean, I know, I'm just 21, Nathan's 20. We're probably the kids in the group. I know Bruce might feel like a kid today, but but I think it's just it's always a point for me personally just to wake up and think about, okay, what do I want to learn today and who do I want to be today? And just doing that, being simple about it and being intentional about it, it really just brings you a long ways away from or a lot closer to where you want to be.
Yeah. And I want to thank you. And Bruce, before you say anything else, Bruce, if you don't have any more time, that's fine. I just want to make sure that you got some really valid feedback. If you want to hang back, that's cool. I just want to, because this is how I really literally work to make a market. We do it in real time. Say, hey, this is what's going on. We analyze copy, we analyze business transactions, everything. Because just like you said, I'm in it. I'm a worker, I'm a marketer, but more specifically, I'm a human first. And I want to be efficient with everything that I do, and this is part of that process. So I really do thank you for showing up, and Misha, I really do thank you for also facilitating this as well. So anything else that you want to say, Bruce? Are we good, or just I'm following your lead now?
I appreciate you inviting me into the group. Again, although it was unexpected, but nice conversation, and it's great to hear the different feedback. So you're in my hometown, it looks like San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah.
So Dallas Cowboys. But yeah, great group you have, Fred, and we'll catch up a little bit later then.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bruce, for coming through, and Amisha will chat a little bit as well. You guys can stay back for a little bit. Bruce, thank you so much. And I wanted to just recap everything that Bruce was mentioning, because what's important to realize here, guys, is that these conversations are super rare. And what we're doing is working to make them a lot more available, and that's where I come from. I don't come from money. Me and my wife had to build things from scratch in order to make things happen. So, and I think that's how most of the entrepreneurs are. We start with the alchemy. We start with that dream, that vision, that goal. And I'm very practical, if you couldn't tell. It's just one of those things, like I do my best to let people know how I play, but the reality of it is not everybody really gets it, because a lot of people are in their head and they're not in the game. And that's one of the reasons why I do advertise as much as I do, because I've told y'all before, a lot of people just typically that I've seen even on the high level are introverts. They're in their head, they're trying to run ads, but they have no context as to why they're doing these things. So just wanted to just add some more stuff to anybody else have any thoughts. And I saw Nina pop up. How you doing? Any questions on anything you've heard so far? All good?
I want to thank you for allowing me to be here. And Amisha, thank you for the invitation. No, this really resonates, and everything that was said, especially because like when I was talking to Amisha earlier today, I quit my job last year after being there for 12 years. To pursue my goal, my dream, to have my own business and have financial freedom. I have a 3-year-old, and I don't want her to worry about, student loans and debt and, all of that. So, and my husband just started recently too, learning about the market. So this is definitely very helpful, and I'm all for it. I want to learn, I want to grow. I'm all about women supporting other women, growing together. There's so much room for everybody to grow, so thank you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no, you're welcome. That's the whole reasons why we're here, because even with our program Audience Roadmap, it doesn't matter where you start, it's the same thing. It's words and how you organize those words in a certain way. But you have to expect the outcomes, because sometimes this stuff happens so fast, you can grow too fast and it's scary, and then you'll start cooling off. Me and I've seen it happen behind the scenes for what we were doing. Like, whoa, whoa, and sometimes you may not even be ready for that growth. And that's the thing about it, is that what will happen going through this process is that you will see more opportunities than you know what to do with. And all of a sudden you go from like, where are the opportunities to, oh my God, I got too many opportunities. And that's what really happens. So without having the proper mindset to be able to develop discernment, you'll start squirreling out, because you start seeing all of these opportunities versus making the main thing the main thing. And that's the reasons why having goals and targets and that vision that you really have up front, then you can start taking from the buffet and go, okay, well, I may not need that steak right now, but I definitely need this shrimp. I may need the lobster after that, or perhaps I just need a hamburger. It's like wherever you're at, but this was the part of life that I saw missing, was to just have some type of succession planning. And I learned it from the Marine Corps. Prior to the Marine Corps, I was going through it, because we have these grades in school. If you're like a regular employee, and they teach you how to be an employee, and like my dad was a factory worker for 25 years, my mom worked in a church for 30 years. So it's just like the chances of me becoming an entrepreneur were slim to none. It was higher probability that I'd be stuck where I was at and not having any other way to see things. But it's like I was saying earlier, I just had this blessing and curse at the same time, where I have a lot of compassion. I can see how other people were living, so that I had that willingness to learn, but not the right know-how. I had the willingness to grow, but not the right people showing me the right thing. it was a cult, or they wanted you to do something, or they want you to do some strange things for some change. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I don't play like that. Like, I just want to be
Mhm.
a real dude on this planet, really figuring out what my zone of genius is so that I can help others. And that's how Audience Roadmap really came about. It's one of those things where it's more like a personal development plan with a huge compensation package attached to it. So if you can look at it that way, because it's be, do, have, and we're always taught to do, and we're always taught to have things as consumers, but the wealthy, the elite, and the highly literate understand that we have to be a certain way. And they put that first. They always put that first. And they train their kids that way. I mean, you have special schools that just teach these things. I mean, even something as small as a dictionary. I was always in the hood looking up words because, like, oh, that don't make no sense. I was always in the library. That's one of the reasons why I'm like a researcher. But that comes from my pain and my trauma of knowing that there was something better out there, but somebody maybe not thinking that I'm good enough to have it. So I had to create it. And that's what makes me a super creative type person. And even, it's not me saying that, it's actually the CIA. Anybody go to their CIA library and see that there's a direct correlation between trauma and performance, period. And these are things that we don't talk about. We're not supposed to be talking about these kinds of things. You're supposed to just clock in and do what I tell you so I can pay you as least as possible. That's what you're supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
And sometimes you just need that. You need something stable. But if I want to be able to grow and develop, and again, somebody's W-2 is somebody else's 1099 passive income. So when you understand how the game is playing, then you have a choice. But we also want to have the information in this lane to be able to grow and develop. And that's what the whole process of this New Room Collective is about, bringing some conversations you may never will ever hear. I mean, like me being in the automotive industry, I played at a super high, insane level for years. And I don't hear those conversations in regular, everyday me going to the store. I was just in Inglewood last night. Went to Church's Chicken. We ain't talk about nothing like that. I used to think, and I'm just like, man, I hope this don't kill me. Like, oh my God, can't believe I used to love eating stuff like. But my point is, but I have that choice. And one of the guys was like, yo, man, I really like your truck and blah, blah, blah. I was like, man, I was over at Crenshaw Motors Ford. I was a GS. And he's like, what? It's like, yeah, bro, those kind of things, we have to remember we to turn around and help other people. That's the whole purpose of this whole process. So definitely want to say thank you for showing up, Nina, the way that you do. Anybody else have any other questions or thoughts? Or Regina, you want to say something? You haven't said much. I know you've been on pause.
Yeah. I just wanted to add, I know that Bruce is gone, but the thing is like for me, I'm first generation Asian, right? Coming to the States as a refugee. So very different than a lot of everybody's background. And just kind of like what Bruce says, it's just like the way I was brought up, it was just like go to work, save money, buy a big house. When you save a big money, and it just shows you that the mindset is just where everything is at, right? It's just what you know. So where me growing up, it was never about investments. It was just investment is gambling. You're gambling with your money. The sure thing is you go to work, you save money, and and if you do want to be an entrepreneur, you open up a store, you open up a shop, which still you're still trading time for money. So that's where, to me, just learning about investments and knowing um that that's something that is an option is it's huge. It's something that to me I think would is really great, especially if it's being taught to the kids. But at the same time, I think even as far as what are we, the crazy generation, a lot of the crazy generations need this also, as far as even just learning that you can invest. I mean, old school is literally go to work, come home, save your money. When you save enough money, you can buy a house, and that's when you move out of your parents' house, because now you can afford your own home. It's not like, hey, go to work, make some money, make that money work for you. That's like a new
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Cool. And I definitely want to wrap up real quick, but also saying, let's park this conversation because I really want to go into more detail on it on Thursday. There's something that I was able to do for 20 years. It's just totally insane, and it's based off of Robert Kiyosaki's was it Rich Dad
Quad.
Poor Dad stuff? Yeah, I think it's more relevant than now than ever to talk about this because there are some discoveries that I made that literally put all of this context together because people were just like, "Man, Fred, you talk to everybody." I'm like, "Well, the only reason I am able to do that is because I understand that one quadrant, and he doesn't explain it the way that I've seen it all of my life. So it's one of those things that once I show you, it's going to be real hard to unsee. So I do want to keep some mystery there because my challenge to you guys is to really bring people into the group who need to hear this because I think they're going to want to miss Thursday. Let me put it to you this way: it's so powerful. I've been debating over the last 4 years as to whether or not I should talk about it.
Ooh,
That's deep.
ooh.
It's and Nathan knows that when I say something like that,
Yeah,
it's
better be here.
yeah, it's pretty epic. But and I because I struggle with it because there's one very well-known marketer I shared it with. Let me put it and put it in proper context. One very well-known marketer who I shared it with, and if you tend to use this information a different way other than how I'm telling you, it's gonna get you in trouble. It's gonna get other people in trouble because when I talk to you, I talk to you out of love because I don't want to make those same mistakes. I got kids. It doesn't matter anybody who's in front of me. I believe it's my responsibility to give it to them in proper context because I don't need anybody coming back and like, oh well, Fred, something. Nope, 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 nope. I already have my mouth insured for millions of dollars, so I know what that's like. To speak and actually have your mouth insured is crazy. That happened in my life, but I still think like that. Even in the automotive industry, I was responsible for compliance. So to do automotive compliance to catch criminals, that's something that I've done. So when I say it in the context of what I am, I'm thinking like that. I'm thinking from a hey, how can I be responsible with my language when I'm using this kind of thing? If that makes sense. Is that weird or is that making sense?
Oh, that's perfectly
Yeah,
normal.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, no, I appreciate that, Jalen. And when I ask you, is that make sense? Because some people say it as like a manipulative tool. I genuinely don't know. I've worked with nothing but 7 to 10 figure business owners for like 15, 20 years, and it's not the same conversations. So I'm just doing my best right now to just because this is how this affects my copywriting, it affects my marketing, it affects how I run ads, it affects my creative. It's literally end to end because it does start with John 1:1. You know what I'm saying? It starts with the words. So I want to make sure that those words are just congruent. And I have tools that I've had to invent or see things a different way just to be able to get those breakthroughs at a high level. So I'll share that. I'll share that Thursday. That's my promise. And anybody else got any questions or thoughts? And Demetrius over there smiling like a cat ate the canary. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I got one last question,
Sure.
and I think this is probably going to be helpful to everybody in the room and everybody who sees this live. So when we talk about wanting success and we talk about wanting to reach the goals and then being able to develop ourselves to do that, a lot of people, I think, forget why or don't know why they do something. So for you, Fred, how were you able to find your why, and how are you able to remind yourself of that when you lose track of it?
Great question because we're always continually growing, right? So the biggest thing is that my challenge to you right now is to go grab a dictionary, the best one that you can. I use Oxford's dictionary. I actually teach this in audience roadmap and literally look up the word why. You'll see how confusing that one word is because there's like a bazillion different definitions to it. Find the one that resonates and what's really congruent with you and how you think right now. But more specifically, I use a tool in the Marine Corps that I learned called JJ Did Tie Buckle. It's the Marine Corps principles. I taught my kids this, I teach my clients this, because that gives me the basic framework of filters that I need to use when I'm out here in the real world, slashing and hooking. I'm no longer hermetically sealed, and I didn't have anything like this. That's the reason why this exists. I was like, man, I wish I could just go live and talk to people when they go, nah, Fred, that sucks. Like, okay, cool, I'm gonna do that. Or hey, and that's what you're experiencing right now. It's a unique experience, right? But that helps me facilitate what I want to see my future self be. So I teach that in audience roadmap, what I call the freedom ladder. That's why you have to have two or more people involved in your life who genuinely care about you, because you have to understand: am I more of a left brain thinker? Am I more of a right brain thinker? For starters, because we tend to have a bias, and the people who don't have a bias are the real entrepreneurs because they're able to pull things together. And yes, I said real. We have to define that because you can be super left brain and be an entrepreneur. At least you know for a fact that you don't like humans and you like numbers, or you can be so right brained emotional like a cocker spaniel, and that's cool, but just figure out how to make money in it, but don't be too much of a troll. Somewhere in between is going to be the truth of the delineating self of who you are. And what I work to do is stay straight in the center. Like even if you look right here at this funnel that I have right here, there's a funnel. I might just pull it out, but what I like to do is be right in the middle because that helps me expand in both directions. And I've noticed that when I have my tax license as an example, I was too left brain, so my creative sucked. And then I was on the far right hand side, and my wife was like, "Bro, you need to pull back a little bit. Like I need you over here actually getting some stuff done." So that helps me delineate. And then through time, when you set hard standards to say, "Hey, I'm going to be this way for 30 days." I'm going to be this way for 90 days, and you consistently do it. Like I keep a log. Like that's why I have these papers because I literally log every single day of my life. Put it in a folder. That way I can have proper assessment. I hold a meeting with myself first, and then me and my wife have a meeting on Sundays to make sure that we're on track for what we need to do for the following week. So hopefully that's a little bit more insight. I'm very left-brained about that part of my life, but I'm also creative in respect of, hey, because I have to do production, right? I have to create things. That's what entrepreneurs fail to realize, is that they cannot be in their head, they have to be in the game. So you have to be able to do both at the exact same time. And that's how you get that juice. So again, I have step 1 blocked, step 2 locked, step 3 ready to rock. Does that make sense, or is that being weird?
I think it's just Fred being Fred.
Okay, cool.
And there's no such thing as that being, weird. It makes sense.
Cool. Because that's just a framework that I trained that I just know works. And if anybody, again, it's just like selling cars. Like every automotive dealer is like, "Hey, yeah, like look, I've done this for 20 years. This is metal. It goes across the curb, and everybody has a bazillion different ways of selling that thing, right? So that's how I look at it. Just like when Namisha had an episode a few weeks back, I'm like, don't scream at the car. Just grab the remote and figure out which button you got to push. It's just like, like that's just how I look at life. I look at life as I don't look at life as the way most people do. I see a bunch of noise out here in the marketplace, so I just substitute noise with randomity. I substitute the word noise with variables. And what I want to do is engineer those variables out my life. That's what engineers do. You don't go across a random bridge and hope that it's going to, you expect the bridge when you go across it, you're going to go on the other side. You don't worry about, oh my God, is it going to fail and blah, blah, blah. Short of being in California because we have an earthquake every other day. But even then, they're still engineered out here to withstand even that. You follow me? So somebody had to think through that. So if you look at your life as just that, to be like, hey, as an entrepreneur, I have a product, which is a bridge from where somebody wants to go to where they need to be. And oh, by the way, I have the experience to help them. Then guess what? That's your product. I don't make it any harder than that. I don't make it any harder than that. Life is already tough enough. You've been able to beat something no matter what age you are. And if you're inspired to help other people out, that's the reasons why this IP works.
Okay.
Helpful?
That's a straightforward answer.
Cool. I appreciate that. So Nina, was this helpful as well?
Yes, very helpful. Thank you.
Awesome. So
Thank
again,
you for joining. I do appreciate that, Nina. Sorry, I just wanted to jump in and say thanks for
It
showing
was
up.
perfect timing. Like,
yeah,
I can relate with Nathan. This is literally perfect timing.
good.
So I do have a little $7 offer. It's not much. Actually, I created it back in 2000 just for this reason. It's about a basic 5-day challenge I created, and I had a whole bunch of the world's top marketers and advertisers go through it back then. But what it does is it gives you the high level, Jalen, of what we're talking about today, and just literally breaking down day 1, I think like this, here's why. Day 2, I think like this, here's why. Day 3, day 4, and day 5. So that's going to be one of the things I just released. I worked on all this weekend on just to do a little slight upgrade cosmetically and aesthetically, but it's the same thing. It hasn't changed. It ain't going to change. So
Are you going to put that in the group?
yeah, I'll just drop a link down. It's ifix.marketing if you want to know what it is. Just ifix.marketing right now. Okay. Yeah, just go through and just check it out and leave some comments there if you decide to go through it. But all roads lead to like what's going on right here because you're inner world creature, outer world. So
Yeah.
All right. Well, much love, guys. And like I said, stay tuned. Thursday we'll run it back, and I really do appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you.